Good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking time on a beautiful Monday night to join us here. It's great to see some new faces in the crowd, too, as well as some friendly faces who are normally here. We appreciate that. We're excited to have what is really considered a second public open house on this Embrace Downtown project, but I'm not sure that number does this project justice. We have not had, while this might be the second public open house, folks like Aaron Head, who I'm going to give a shout out to in a minute, have done many one-on-one meetings and has held countless hours, evening guys, of office hours at Noble Coffee and Tea around the square. So we've solicited and received so much feedback from this project, and we just really appreciate all of you, first of all, for being here tonight, for taking an interest in your city. Hopefully, if you travel from the west side, you got here a lot easier because 32 is open. Maybe that's only for me, but there's a few west siders. Okay, good, thank you. I enjoyed it this morning. I thanked myself. No, I'm just kidding. It's nice to get some roads open now, but we are going to talk about a new exciting project, Embrace Downtown, that's going to impact us in 2026. And like I said, hopefully before now, this isn't maybe the first time you've heard about this project. But if it is, we welcome you. And so to give you a little idea of format, which I know Aaron will go over in a little bit tonight, I'm going to do a few welcoming remarks. I'm going to turn it over to our city engineer, my Noblesville High School classmate from 2002, Ali Krupski. I mentioned that just so you know that we are both Noblesville natives and it grew up here. Who's going to talk a little bit about the overall logistics and engineering of the project. And then Aaron Head's going to kind of walk us through some logistics for tonight. Our goal here after a presentation here is we're going to encourage everyone to shift their way just down the hallway to A213, 214, which you cannot miss. And there are cookies down there, by the way. That'll be the carrot that gets you there. And there'll be stations down there with pictures and the team that is helping shepherd this project where you can ask a lot of one-on-one questions of everybody. Our whole team will be down there too. Would love to spend a little time getting to know you and maybe understanding maybe what brought you here tonight. That's always interesting. I would say you meet one person, you meet one person. They always have kind of a different angle on that. There are some city councilors here tonight, too. I want to acknowledge Aaron Smith is back there. I see Mike Davis, and actually his way better half, Bobby Davis, is here. City Council Vice President. I'm not sure if I see any other city councilors. But then there'll also be some city staff. Sarah Reed, our Community Development Director, is there in back. Matt Light is around here somewhere, one of our deputy mayors in the hallway. And then Lexi Rock and Emily Cox with our comms team are over there along the wall, too. So please feel free to get to know anyone tonight. We'd love to spend a little time with you. This project really is the first major infrastructure project in our downtown on the square in nearly 30 years. And I've also learned through the last several years why this is probably the first one in 30 years. Downtown brings up a lot of emotion and a lot of nostalgia for folks, myself included. What really drove this project for us, though, is that underneath that beautifully historic downtown square is beautifully historic infrastructure. And it has a beautifully historic smell at times. And some of our goals is to try to help mitigate that going forward before we find ourselves in a tough spot as a community that we've seen other communities have where there's an underground pipe situation and sinkholes. We're trying to be well ahead of that conversation with this project going on. So we also realize that if we're going to go in and rehab some infrastructure underground, it's an awesome opportunity to really understand and imagine what our downtown square can be. Today, our downtown square is really designed heavily for vehicular traffic, which makes a lot of sense. But I can tell you as more and more people are living, working, playing, and staying in our downtown, switching that to not only accommodate vehicular traffic, but really accommodate that pedestrian traffic is really, really important. I know I see Ayla McGill of Noblesville Crates, Kate Baker of Noblesville Main Street nodding their head. They know how important that foot traffic is in downtown every day. Now, it's not just a weekend, it's every day. We're seeing so many more people living, working, playing, and staying in downtown. So that is one of the big goals we have going forward. I will tell you there's been some questions around the finances for this project, which is an incredibly important thing. That is one of the number one jobs we face every day is making sure that we are good stewards of taxpayer dollars. This is a project we've actually been saving up for nearly a decade. We put a designated fund in place, the Downtown District Fund, of which Aaron Smith and Megan Wiles and some others are helping spearhead, to collect tax revenues from food and beverage tax. I think that's really important. So that's not necessarily on existing taxpayers. A lot of time it's visitors who are paying that food and beverage tax that are paying into that fund. That fund will be leveraged and bonded then to create the overall scope and the dollars available for phase one of this project, which Allie can outline the parameters of phase one shortly. So I know there's been some questions about that. Anytime you do a major project like this, there's always questions of where is the funding source, so hopefully that gives you some clarity. Happy to talk through more tax policy for you going forward if you have any questions about that. One of the things we heard when we initially really thought about this project 5 years ago during COVID was when we really amped up conversations, and some major conversations that were had were certainly by concerned business owners in downtown. There's a lot of retail and restaurant in our downtown, which is incredibly important, and so one of the things we have tailored is that phase one will kick off in the spring of this year and will wrap up before the holiday shopping season in 2026. That's done intentionally, again, trying to make sure our downtown is accessible and open to those Main Street merchants that we are so lucky to have 100% occupancy on our downtown square. So that kind of gives you an idea of where our head's at for phase one, is hopefully to be able to bite that off in 2026 and complete phase one in 2026 as well. So before I turn it over to Ashley, whoever you are, Allie Krupski, I want to thank Allie and her entire engineering team, Aaron Head, who has just been a tireless advocate for downtown. Thank you, Aaron, for the countless hours that you have put in. And just thanks again to all of you for taking a vested interest into this project. I will also note one other person, Tommy Freeborn back there, is one of the lead architects on this project. I think it's important to note that Tommy lives about a block and a half down the street from City Hall. So you have a pretty good Noblesville contingency that are focused in on this project that have really taken this to heart. So Allie, if you want to come up here and walk everyone through the next part of the presentation. Final point, Dave Johnson, one of our city councilors, just walked in fashionably late. So thank you, Dave, for being here.
Did everyone take notes?
That's why he does, he does this so he can get all that attention. So with that, Allie Krupski.
Thank you, Mayor. You're welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, for the introduction. We have a short presentation tonight, and if you came to our first open house meeting back in March, a lot of it will be old news, but there will be some really neat new renderings that we'll be showing tonight. So there will be some new information with that as well. But the first half might be a little bit of repeat for some of you. Mayor Jensen did take my entire introduction slide away from me. He did such a great job. But one thing I did want to point out is that we have a lot of love for Noblesville on this team. Mayor Jensen and I, born and raised here, very passionate about Noblesville in general, but also our downtown square. Andrew Rodewald, who has not been introduced yet, he is also here, and he is the project manager from the engineering side on this project. He has worked for the city for over 20 years, super passionate about Noblesville, but especially about our downtown. If you live downtown, you've definitely interacted with him because that is his bread and butter. He loves it. Willie Hall with Crossroad Engineers, this is our engineering firm that is running this project. He is back here as well, and he will also be in the open house setting, but he and his company have great experience working on streetscape projects in a lot of different cities around the state, including historic squares. So if you think about this, the same with Ratio Architects, they have the same kind of background, just knowing these streetscape projects. And so, for example, they've worked on, not together but separately, it includes Indianapolis, it includes Franklin, it includes Lebanon. So a lot of these areas where if you've gone to them recently, they're thriving, they look great, and we're just really proud to have them on our team. And I think everyone else has been introduced. So design objectives, these have not changed since March. We are passionate about these, and what I want to do tonight is kind of go through some of the things that we've implemented to make sure that we are meeting these design objections. Oh my gosh, let me just slow down. Design objectives. So the first one is we want to preserve and celebrate our downtown. It's historic. We love it. We don't want to change it. We don't want to change the character of it. What we want to do is take what we have there and really exemplify it. We want to make it just be bigger than what it is from, we have historic elements in it, but where can we place those historic elements elsewhere throughout our streetscape? We want to cultivate a traffic calmed environment, and what that means is we want it to be pedestrian centered. So right now it is really, and Mayor Jensen said it perfectly, it is designed for roadway traffic. It wasn't always that way, but right now it is designed for roadway traffic, and we don't want that. We want people, when they are visiting our downtown, we want them to feel comfortable and safe crossing our roads and visiting our businesses. With that, we want to promote an environment that supports a vibrant and healthy economy. So like Mayor Jensen said, we are 100% full in all of our buildings. That is excellent. We want to keep supporting that. We want to make sure that we are producing an environment and designing something that helps people want to be here, and not just people within the city of Noblesville, but people outside of the city of Noblesville. We want to increase our green space. If you walk, there's not a lot of shade, and we need it. So we are going to be adding some greenery. We're going to be adding some trees. It's going to be great for the visitors and everybody that's walking on our sidewalks. And then last but not least, our public infrastructure. That's really important to us. In March, when we were given this presentation that same day, there was an event downtown Indianapolis where a water line blew and they closed down their streets for the whole night the next day. It took a lot of time to get that fixed. I'm sure there were some insurance claims. We don't want that. So what we are doing with this project, and we have partnered with Indiana American Water, is we are investing in that infrastructure underneath so that hopefully we can prevent some catastrophic event like that from happening to us. So with that, preserving and celebrating our character in our downtown, we have implemented some really neat design into this. And in the other room, we have boards where you can get a zoom in picture of this that kind of shows what we've done. Plus, I would encourage you to talk to Tommy and his team at Ratio Architects about what specific, I'm going to talk about a color palette. I can't tell you what any of these color palette colors actually are. He can tell you exactly what they are, and he would love to show you them. But we have chosen and selected a brick pattern that really does match what you see in our downtown. And if you look in our downtown, it's pretty variable what's going on. You also have Logan Street and Clinton Street that also use a brick pavement. We will be using clay brick pavers similar to what is being used on Logan Street and Clinton right now. The difference is Clinton and Logan, they have a subgrade that is not concrete. So when I say we're using the same clay brick pavers, that doesn't mean it's going to look like Logan Street and Clinton Street right now. But what it is going to do is that the colors that we use there in the clay bricks, they will be similar to that. But underneath that clay brick pavement, we are going to have a concrete base. And so you will not have that same issue of the roadway going up and down. It'll be a very stable and sturdy roadway surface for the public to drive on. We will also be putting the star bricks that you see around town. A lot of times you'll see them in the sidewalk. There's like a strip of them. We will be using those as accent materials throughout the streetscape project particularly. And when you look at the pictures, you'll see this. We have little landscape buffers, and those will be lined with our star brick pattern. We will also be using that star bricks symbol in a lot of the other stuff we do. So if you look at the sign at the bottom right, you can see that we put the star brick there. That is our street signage. So we will be putting little accents of that throughout the entire project. We'll be using granite curbs, granite pavers. You'll also see that there'll be granite pavers with metal inlay. So where that says Georgia Street, we're going to be putting those at the intersection. So it'll say 9th Street, it'll say Logan Street, and it will look really nice when that is all complete. The seat wall around the courthouse will remain. I think that's a really important piece of this. Everything within that seat wall, we're not touching the courthouse face, we're not touching building faces. It's just everything between those that will get a little upgrade. We are also going to be using wayfinding signage that really reflects our downtown character and what we're trying to accomplish here. And then last but not least, the artwork. We do not have that finalized, but in talking with our historic committee that we have been meeting with and others around, that is really important to us that we implement these little pieces of artwork and historic signage to make sure that we are celebrating our past. Cultivating a traffic calm environment. This is something that has not changed either. So we will be widening our sidewalks for safety, for accessibility. This is really important to us. We are also going to be reducing our lane widths. So currently Logan Street is a 15-foot section. We will be making our lanes, they'll be 11 feet now. So quite a bit of lane width reduction there. But again, that is in order for us to allow us to widen our amenity space and our sidewalk areas. With that, we will also be shortening our pedestrian crosswalk areas. So currently, pedestrians have to cross more than the 30-foot section when they're crossing the road. Once this project is complete, it will only be a 22-foot section that pedestrians will actually have to cross because we're restricting the lane widths that much. We'll be improving line of sight lines at intersections, removing curbs. This is another big piece of this project. So accessibility is a big part of this. We want our downtown to be easily navigable for everybody. And so by removing those barriers, it will just make it easier for our public in general, for everybody, but also if we shut down the square, it'll make it easier for us to have an event. We don't have as many trip hazards for people to be tripping on. With the accessibility piece, we'll have detectable warning strips. This is a big piece of this. A lot of people have asked us, if you don't have curbs, how can this be safe for people with accessibility concerns? Well, we'll still be implementing all of the ADA requirements that come along with any roadway design. So we'll have the detectable warning surfaces. We'll have accessible parking. We will be placing accessible parking there'll be one spot per block on each side of the block. And so we'll have one on the north side of the street and the south side of the street. But also with a barrier-free environment, really every space is accessible because we no longer have those curbs. But on the side where we're going to keep the angled parking, which I'll talk about in the middle, those will not be van accessible parking just because they're angled and they're a little tighter. But as you get to the exterior in front of the building faces, really anybody can park in any of those spots and they will all be accessible for any van parking or any of those needs. Everything we are doing is going to promote a vibrant economy for us downtown. A lot of this is repetitive from what I've already said, but we're improving walkability, we're improving accessibility and safety, we're adding an amenity zone. So if you walk downtown now, anywhere you walk on the square, you'll see that businesses have created their own amenity space, and with that, they are now going into the sidewalk, the actual walkable space. So it can be hard to navigate around things, and we love that our businesses are doing that. We think that's great. It helps them. It promotes a very great economy, but now we're going to be actually putting a space in for them to have that where it is dedicated. So they're going to have an 11-foot space, plus we'll have a 10-foot sidewalk with that people can walk and navigate through that. We're also going to have flexible space on the street. So we'll have parking, but let's say there is an event downtown, we can easily remove that parking and allow business or somebody to come in and use that space for something more flexible that we are determining right now or that people come up with. We're improving our wayfinding signage. That is a huge thing that Noblesville, we know that we need to improve on. And so with this project, there will be a wayfinding and signage package. We will be showing people where parking is. We're going to make it clear. It'll be, our maps are going to be simplified so that people will have a better idea on how to get where they need to go. And so that is one of the big things with this project. And also, again, we want to attract new and we want to keep our existing visitors downtown. That's huge for us and that's huge for our businesses. Increasing green space, like I said, we're going to add landscape buffers all along both sides of the street. There'll be street trees. These trees will be specially picked so that they also allow view to store frontages, but they also provide shade during the moments when we need them. So we'll be looking at renderings when we go in there, and those visuals are going to be of trees that are 15 to 20 years old. So just know that when those first go in, they're not going to look that vibrant and shaded, but they will grow. We are using a subsurface soil mechanism that will allow these trees to grow properly. So in an urban environment, a lot of times you'll go in a downtown area and you'll see that the trees they don't look really healthy. Well, we are putting a whole mechanical system underground that is going to help these trees grow, give them the space that their roots need to be healthy and vibrant. We're also going to be placing large planter bowls. When we met with public safety, this was a big thing for them as well. We're going to be placing large planter bowls at all intersections to protect the public from driving traffic. Plus, we're going to use these as an accent and a beautification piece for our downtown. And then, again, installing different plantings. We want them to be vibrant. We want them to make just really have this warm, welcoming environment for the city of Noblesville. Public infrastructure, our sidewalks are 30 plus years old. I tried to claim they were 50 plus years old, and Andrew corrected me. They are 30 plus years old, but they need replaced. If you walk on them, you see they're deteriorating. You see they're not wide enough. So that's a big part of this project. We are also going to be separating our storm sewer and our sanitary sewer system. Sometimes when you guys smell some of the scent downtown, it is due to the fact that we do currently have combined sewer in certain areas, which means our sanitary and our sewer run in the same, and our stormwater run in the same system. This is the first phase of a huge separation that needs to happen. So while we will be doing this on phase one, that will not completely eliminate the odor that we are smelling, but it will be the first step to allow us to do that. And so that's a huge part of this project, not to mention some of these facilities, including Indian American water facilities, are over 100 years old. And so it's really important that we get these replaced. With that, we are partnering with Indian American Water, so that portion of the project, while it will be bid in our contract, will be reimbursed to us by Indian American Water. That's a huge partnership between us and them, that they're willing to come alongside our schedule and do that replacement. We'll also be replacing our signals with decorative poles, decorative fixtures, and we'll be placing all our underground cable and wiring, which again is very old, and we'll be constructing communication duct banks for future fiber connectivity. So last time we met, this phase looked a lot bigger. We kind of showed you a study area. Now we have actually narrowed down into what our budget can hold and what we think we can get done within 1 year in 2026. So our final limits are between 8th and 9th Street along Logan Street, and it will include the 9th Street intersection. The reason it does not include the 8th Street intersection is that currently the county is also going to be expanding their judicial center. They will be having traffic going over 8th Street for the next 2 years, and so we don't want to put any final finishes on that street until we get to a point where they're not going to be driving construction traffic over it. With that, and if you were at the first public information meeting, you saw this. This is an example of what our curbless streets will look like. So on the left side of the screen, you will notice that is the county seat wall, and that's where the current historic courthouse is. On the right side of the screen, that is where the building frontages are. So we are holding both of those faces, and then from the historic county seat wall, you'll see that the sidewalk width is 9'6", and we're adding that tree line in there. So it's still a nice wide sidewalk. And then we go into 17'6" space for angled parking. So we are keeping the angled parking on the inside of the square. That was something, when we presented this project back in 2020, we heard everybody. We realized that parking is at a premium, and we wanted to make sure that everyone knew we were listening to that. So we are keeping the angled parking on the inside of the square, which I think is a really good thing for the city. So overall, since 2020, I think this is an important thing to know. We have added over 200 spots in garages for parking during the daytime. So over 200 spots during the daytime, and then on the weekends, we almost 700 spots in parking garages on nights and weekends. So while we might be eliminating a few, actually on phase 1 total, we're eliminating 11 parking spots on the square. We have added quite a bit of parking in garages that are only 2 blocks away from the center of the square. So I think we've done a great job prioritizing parking and making sure that we've planned for this project. With that. So we have the 17'6" angle parking, then you'll see we have trench drains, so everything will drain now to those trench drains. And then we have 2 11-foot travel lanes, we have 9-foot parking, parallel parking on towards the faces of the building frontages. We have a 5-foot utility green space, a 10-foot sidewalk, and 11-foot amenity zone. So with that, you can see how much we have prioritized our pedestrian footage, square footage in that. So these are our final concepts. They're very exciting. When you go in there, they're going to look even better because they're not going to be on a screen. You're going to see what they look like. We also, in that room, have our actual bricks that we will be using. So the coloring that you see on this, you'll notice when you actually see the bricks, it's very hard to match it perfect in a picture, but we are very excited about what those colors are. If you came to this last time, you'll notice that this coloring is pretty different than what we originally set out for the streetscape, and that's because we had an original concept. We talked to all our committees, our aesthetics committee, our historic committee, and we wanted to make sure that we were really matching the character of what our downtown is. So Tommy and his team went out, they walked around downtown with bricks, they matched them up to things. They really did. I've got a lot of pictures. And then they'd be like, come outside, you actually have to see it in the sun, you know? So it was a really fun process, but I really feel like we've selected the perfect pattern for what our streetscape should look like, and we're excited about that. This image right now is a bird's eye view. It's looking up. You can see this is Logan Street. You've got SIDS on your left, and the courthouse in the center, or on the bottom. Yeah. This is a nighttime view, and we are looking to the east on Logan Street. You'll notice the parallel parking on the right. You'll notice the trench drains. You can see our historic signage in there, or it's not historic, but our signage that has historic character in there. You'll also notice that the lanes are super thin. Those are our 22-foot total travel lane, 11-foot each. It's a much shorter area that pedestrians have to cross. You'll see the trees lining the corridor. You can't really see it, but on the left side of the screen, and when you look in the rendering, you'll see a clear sign. That is where we're planning to put a historic view of what the old Logan Street used to look like. And so you'll be able to look down this new street and then have this image of what the old historic street looked like. I think that'll be a really cool piece to this project. This picture is from Courthouse Club looking to the west. Again, just another really cool visual of what this might look like. You can see the planter bowls in this picture that will be used to protect pedestrians from the traveling public. And this is a good image. It shows really what the curbless environment will look like. So you'll see that car parked right there, the blue car, and you'll see that somebody getting out of it doesn't have to navigate really any curbs. They can just come around the front of that and get right through there onto our nice 10-foot wide travel or pedestrian walkways. And then you can see the amenity space being used in these pictures. So some businesses will want to use that space with chairs and tables, some will not. So we've kind of scattered that throughout in this image as well. Construction, I'm sure that's something that a lot of you are wondering about. So this is an image, and again, we have this blown up in the other room. It shows where our actual project area would be. So that dark blue area, that's what will actually have final finishes on it. That's what we will be constructing. You'll see a dashed blue line. That's called our incidental construction area. So that will be touched by construction, but you will not see final finishes there, but it has to be touched due to just tying into the what's existing there. You'll also notice along 8th Street that it goes pretty far up north. We've got some utility stuff going on that roadway, plus we will be constructing a pedestrian walkway all the way up to the county garage so that we have some safe pedestrian access along 8th Street. You'll also notice on here that there's 2 orange boxes. That is dictating right now what we know of the county's judicial center, their expansion. So they're gonna have material staging yard. They're gonna be expanding to the west on their building. And so they'll be traveling back and forth along Logan and 8th, really to get their materials back and forth. So this is really what you'll see impacted in 2026. With that, we plan to not close 8th Street and 9th Street at the same time. So those intersections, if one is closed, the other should be open. Again, with the county doing their project, we're gonna have to do a lot of coordination, which we already are. Our goal is to never have that happen, but there could be a moment, which would be a short moment, that might happen, but our goal is that it wouldn't. So with the construction phasing, we really have 3 specific work areas. During this whole time, we have to provide access to our businesses. They're the bread and butter of our community. We will make sure that you have access at all times. And Aaron will be talking a lot more about like business outreach and how we plan to get people to our downtown and to our businesses during this construction. But really I want you to notice work area C. That is the time when we will actually be constructing right in front of the store frontages. So in the corner of this picture, you can see a ramp and how we plan to maintain that access while we are doing this. I would encourage you to look at the images in there because they'll be blown up and you'll be able to see them a little better. But just so you can have an idea of how we plan to maintain access, it will be safe, it will be comfortable. Again, you will have people working around you, so at times that you might hear some noise, but we will be maintaining that access. All right, I'm going to bring Aaron up here, and he is going to talk to you about our business support.
Thank you, Allie. Appreciate it. Appreciate Mayor Jensen for the nice intro. Aaron Head with the Mayor's Office, Community Engagement Manager. And really my focus with the city is specific to our downtown and being an advocate for our downtown businesses. And I did see some business owners here tonight. I really appreciate you guys coming. I saw Paul Marsh from People's State Bank. I saw Rory from Linden Tree. Saw Robbie with Smith Jewelry. I think he snuck out. Oh, there he is in the back right there. I spent some money in his shop recently. And Justin and Kelly Hexamer. Quick plug with them. They are opening the Spice and Tea Exchange, and that should be open. It's on Logan Street, kind of over by Primeval Brewing, and they will be opening in mid-November. So a little plug for them. Make sure you guys go check them out when you're doing your holiday shopping. And so what we're working on right now is, what does it look like from a business support perspective, and not just having a construction area and saying, all right, businesses, just go, figure it out and hope you can hang on. So what we're looking at are opportunities for the city to partner with businesses on getting people to come to our downtown and continue to come through that, even though there's construction happening in Logan Street in front of some of those businesses. So kind of a first element is the signage piece. So a lot of our signage directing people down Logan Street on the sidewalks so that people know that those businesses are open, even though there's, you'll see construction fencing but the sidewalk is still open, and you can get down to all those businesses. And as Allie mentioned as well, we'll have ramps that go into each of these businesses for the duration of that project. And there could be some small intervals where we're doing some work right in front of a business's door. We've worked with business owners months ago in the project to understand business hours when some businesses are closed, so that it may be a more beneficial time to do some of that work, so it's not taking away from business that could be coming in that door. We'll also be looking at additional signage that's directing people from sidewalk signage to signage that's on the construction fencing, any way to show visually that that area is open to those businesses. And then we're also kind of concurrently working on some additional wayfinding signage to our parking areas. So we have a handful of off-street parking locations that are kind of spread out through our downtown. One right here at City Hall. This lot right here is always available, always free, every day. There's no limit on the time you can park there. And you walk across the street and you're already at Chapter Book Lounge. So we're doing some better wayfinding and directional signage to guide people, especially visitors that aren't as familiar with our downtown, to get them to those parking areas that are off-street locations. One thing that we're also doing that we have not done before is really utilizing social media and doing targeted ads to locations that have a lot more people. So like Grand Park is an example, over 1 million visitors a year. As business owners, some of you guys do see visitation from people that are coming to tournaments from out of town in Grand Park, and they're venturing over to Noblesville. We want to try to grab that audience better. We've talked about it for a while and figuring out how we can do that. And then get them to, between tournament games or in the evenings, coming to our downtown to spend money at our restaurants and shops. And I think for me personally, I know if we can get them here, a lot of times people are like, man, downtown Noblesville is really nice. This is really beautiful. And we hear those comments a lot. So if we can get them here, then hopefully we can have some retention with those people as well to come here and visit. We're also going to, again, look at localized ads promoting shopping small during that time. Let me see if I messed this up, Allie. I messed it up. There you go. Okay. There's also, we're doing some customer retention campaigns. So things like individual, like punch cards and businesses that require a consumer to go to multiple different businesses throughout our downtown to spend money, with the incentive being some giveaways if they can get to, like, say, at least 5 businesses within a certain month. What we want to do is leverage that over an entire course of 8 months, so we're not just front loading that too heavy, so that we can continue to get people to come back through that entire time period. And then we're also looking at some construction activations. So we've talked about having some construction viewing days for kids, where we have some of the larger equipment that's out in the street, so they can come and look at that and have like little hard hats. And we talked to Cheryl at Alexander's about doing what we call like construction cones. And so having a special on ice cream for kids, where they can grab a cone, watch some of that larger construction activity happening, to really activate that space, even though there's construction that's in that location. And then also the creation and promotion of events and activations during construction, and that includes support of our partner organizations. I know Chris mentioned Main Street, Kate's here, and Allie, Allie, happens all the time. I don't feel too bad. Working with them to make sure that their events can, how do we host these events while there's construction happening? Our ultimate goal is that all these events continue to happen in a dedicated space downtown, so we're still driving traffic in. And so we do have a great team here from public safety, street department, the mayor's office, that all works together to figure out how we can still do these types of events when we have construction happening. So we'll continue to work on that, and then we also have some ideas from some additional events that we can do that would be a little bit more like kind of new and exciting to continue to drive traffic to these businesses. So again, our ultimate goal is always to support the businesses that are here. So during that construction period, again, not just saying, hey, we're doing construction, just got to like work through it. We're going to be, hand in hand, walking beside the businesses during this process. So with that, I think that's all mine, unless you want me to hit the next slide. All right. All right, what we got here? So a little bit on the communication side. So again, I host office hours at Noble Coffee and Tea every single Wednesday from 2 to 4. I've been doing that since February. I would, if you have any questions about the project or you have feedback, anything, always please feel free to come in and use that time. During the construction process as well, planning on doing more stuff every single week out by the construction site to talk about what to expect coming forward in the next few weeks in that phase. Then the phase 1 bid should be in December, so everything's finalized, phase 1 bid. And then phase 1 construction, you'll see some things starting in February. That's getting that drainage from the river up to that first phase of the project. And then really in March, you're going to see a lot of that construction happening along Logan Street. And then that will continue again to what they had mentioned already, with the goal being like a November timeline so that we can be open for holiday shopping season. And I think at that time, once that piece is complete and people see the environment that's being created for the businesses in that stretch, you'll have an excitement for what's to come on future phases. Project communication, we talked about that already. Most of you, if you're a business, you have my number. Feel free to reach out. Our information's on there. You can also get it from me after the meeting. And then Allie and Willie Hall, their information is on here as well. And then finally, as we wrap up, again, we'll have an open house where you can look at some of the visuals a little bit more up close and ask questions just down the hallway. So if you go out and turn right, go down about 3 or 4 steps, and the rooms are on the left. So appreciate everybody's time here today. It's really great to see people spending their Monday evening with us at City Hall to learn more about the project, and hope to see you down the hall. Thank you.